Okay, welcome back to another mini. How are we doing today, Mandy?
Many, many, many. It's been a while. Many, many, many. I'm excited to smile.
Very good. Keep rhyming. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Judy Holler would be proud of our
Yeah,
rhymes, huh?
she'd be quite proud.
That's
Yes,
right.
we'll send her a clip.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Um, for this mini, I thought, what do you think about? I have a question about solicitation and kind of dialing for dollars that I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to get your perspective. I figured we could share with people because it's probably really good advice.
Yeah, anything. I love talking about all that stuff. So
Okay.
hit me. Hit
All right.
me.
Let me
And are
give you.
these personal for you? Because I like that too.
Yes, it's
Are
personal
you
for me.
asking for a friend?
I'm
Asking
not
for a
asking
friend?
for a friend. That friend would be
Okay.
me.
Okay. Love that.
Uh, okay. So my goal is to talk to and speak and go into do training with some like hotel management companies. Like one of the
Mhm.
biggest ones is maybe like Aimbridge, but there's other local ones in Las Vegas that own a couple of properties here and there that I could go and speak to and go and offer training because of my background. Because I grew up in hotels, all the positions, sales, etc. So my
Yes.
first question is I'm going to target HR departments, asset managers, and then regional vice president of sales and marketing. So, three questions. How do I find the people, which I think I have a good idea? And then what do I say because they're getting bombarded with so many emails and LinkedIn messages? What can I say to actually get them to read the message? Those are my first two questions.
Okay, I love this. I love this so much. So, a couple things. How can you find them? You can go onto LinkedIn. You can, for example, hotel companies, you could go into a LinkedIn search. And if you don't have the premium membership for LinkedIn, I highly recommend getting the premium membership. I think it's 600. I don't even know. I pay mine every year. It is so worth it. So get it.
Mhm.
And I know there's things with that LinkedIn account I don't even know. There's bells and whistles I'm not taking advantage of. I'm guilty as charged there. So if you learn anything along the way, please let me know. Um, but I would go into the companies that you're interested in, or you can search by title and location. So you can fine tune that, right? So you can go title, asset manager, location, Las Vegas, and a whole bunch of names will pop up. And then from there, find the title of the people that you're looking at and just make a list. You can make a list from there. And just remember the asset managers, the hotel managers, the regional vice presidents of sales, those are 3 distinct different contacts that
Mhm.
have 3 different problems. So you just wanna make sure when you reach out to them that you are addressing their problem immediately. You don't wanna say, "Hi, this is Amani. Here's everything that I do. Hope you're having a good day. Now here's all the solutions that I give you." You just want to either pose a quick question, right? Like, hey, what are you doing for your training? But be specific with the training. So that I guess I'm going to bounce a quick question back to you. What deliverable does your training offer the audience?
So the training will offer the audience, particularly we can talk about sales training. It will help the
Mhm.
salespeople be more creative and stand out when they're going after business. So I help
Okay.
them unlock their creativity so they can do that.
Unlock creativity and your resilience too, right?
Well, yes, yes, so they can stick with it when they see or hear a bunch of no's and never give up.
Cool. So I think like, okay, so vice presidents of sales, I would say, if your salespeople are in a rut and you're looking for creative solutions to help them be more memorable in the marketplace or whatever you want to say, I've got some great programs for them. How can I help? Right. That would be to your VPs of sales. When you talk to your HR people, your culinary people may need some creativity or your operators may need some creativity. So I would just remove the sales piece right out of it and just say, what are you doing to inspire creativity and resilience among your staff or your leadership or your executive team? Right.
Mhm.
I would just pose that quick question. And then your asset managers, obviously, they are dumping so much money into the projects and they want a return on their investment as quick as possible. So I would say something like that. Like, have you ever considered the power that creativity can provide and help you put more money back into your hotel as quickly as possible, something like that. So I would
Okay.
just make sure that you are asking a quick question. And then you can do this over LinkedIn if you want. You could do this over an email if you want. If you do an email, make sure that subject line, I know we talked about this in one of my other sales tales lives. Make sure that subject line is compelling to get people to open it. And like our girlfriend Erin King says in her book Digital Persuasion, make sure the first 10 words of that email are interesting enough for people to keep reading, and
Mhm.
then don't feature and value dump. This is just a quick email to see if people are interested, and then you can share everything.
Okay.
If you're doing this on LinkedIn, try and get to an email as quickly as possible, or try and get to a Zoom call as quickly as possible.
So how can I like what else can I do to make sure that my email it like stands out so they read it and it just doesn't go to spam or junk or get deleted?
I mean, I love subject lines that are like, "Don't you hate it when people are boring?" Or "Don't you," or "Boo, I have to sit in another all-day training." Or, like I would come up, think of yourself because you were a leader at hotels, right? Think of when you had to sit through these all-day trainings, what a pain it was. So, like, what could you put in that subject line that might compel people to open it up, right? So,
Okay.
those are just 2,
Hmm.
but I would just, make it like 6 words or less, and or you could just be like, "Ugh, another all-day training," or "I have a creative block, can
Hmm.
I help?" Or something, just something interesting that is in line with what you do that makes them open it.
And then what resources do you use to figure out people's email addresses or kind of find out the hierarchy of different companies, et cetera, besides LinkedIn?
I mean, a lot of times I will just Google that person's name. So
Hmm.
I might Google Jane Smith, Las Vegas hotel asset manager, or let's say Pacifica Hotel Group, Jane
Yeah,
Smith.
yeah. Hmm.
And then, oh, I have to sneeze. Hold on.
Bless you. Bless you.
Oh
Salute.
my God.
Live.
I know. I muted it for everybody. It always feels so much better to exaggerate the sneeze, doesn't it? Do you exaggerate your sneezes, Amani?
Probably a little bit. It makes the chest hurt, but yes.
Oh, when I was a little girl, when my dad would sneeze, he would be like, "Achoo!" And then he'd be like, "GD." But I can't say that on the show, but
Yeah,
he'd be like, he would swear. And
yeah.
so when we were little, we copied that for a long time. It was fun. Anyways, we digress. Um, yeah,
Mhm,
so I'll just Google it and then you could figure out the email protocol from there. A lot of times in LinkedIn, if you go to the about you, and you go to the profile, the email address will be in there. Or
mhm.
you can go to the hotel company's webpage. So let's say Pacifica Hotel Group, you can click on staff, you can click on leadership, and the email address will be in there.
Okay.
A lot of people like to use different services like Nolan's or Competitive Edge or other things like that. Sometimes you've got so many hotel buddies, Amani. You
Right.
can also ask, like, "Hey, hotel friend, who's the manager? Who's the top person at your company?" And they can just get it. So I would lean in with a mix of your network and using the Google search and the LinkedIn if you can.
Okay. Now, I'm glad you mentioned LinkedIn Premium. You're one of the few people who I've talked to that says it's worth it. Can you explain why it's worth it and how you use it?
I use it. I think you have to it's just like everything else. What you put in is what you get out.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the LinkedIn Premium, I love using, I love the context piece of it. I love knowing who has looked at me. I love knowing the searches. I see the
Yes.
titles.
Mhm.
So I had my impressions last week had 9,556
Wow.
impressions,
That's a
right?
lot. Mhm.
It's a lot, but I like to look at the posts. What posts gave me the highest impressions and then duplicate that. So what I've learned from that, those statistics are whenever you put the word I was at an event last week and you post some selfies and you put your takeaways, those get high impressions.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I've learned that through I've learned some of that statistical information through the premium as well.
Okay. You mentioned how does seeing who's looked at your profile, how do you use that? How does that benefit you?
Well, I like to see the job titles that are looking at me.
Mhm.
Obviously, anybody in sales looking at me is a great thing. I've been seeing more and more a higher level, so a C level and VP levels looking at me. So that actually helps me have different types of conversations because, there's that triangle of like the conversations you have with C level are different than directors, different than managers, different than admins, different than entrepreneurs. And so it helps me curate my LinkedIn posts a little bit using words that are a little more actionable to the title. And then sometimes, like, I got my Sales Tales Live coming up on July 17th. If I see somebody's looked at me, I'm sending them a direct message just to
Mm,
be like, hey, I'm sure you probably knew, but if you don't know, I've got another LinkedIn or I've got another Sales Tales Live coming up.
okay. That's great
Mhm.
advice. And the cost, what
Yeah.
about $600 a year? You just pay for it every year?
I 400, 600. I literally have no idea it's on this renewal every year.
And it's well worth the value. I'm so glad we talked about this because I've been meaning to
Yeah.
ask you. So, okay, this is
I
really
think
good.
it's worth it. Yeah.
Okay, and I trust you. So if Manny says it's worth it, let's do it. So
I mean, it's
two,
worth it for
two,
me and my
yeah,
business.
yeah.
And we
Well,
have
I
similar business models. So
we do. Any to go back to any other advice you can think of as I'm like soliciting these companies to try to go and speak to them and offer training.
I would hit them in different ways. So we talked about email, LinkedIn. You could send them a LinkedIn message. Don't pitch slap them. Don't
Yes.
pitch in that email. Just tickle a feather, right? But then the other split on LinkedIn is if you're going after specific people, look what they're posting on LinkedIn and make a couple comments.
Mm,
So you're just knocking on the door and you're engaging and you're being present. Now, your comment isn't going to be, hey, can I come talk to your people? Your comment is going to be something meaningful that addresses the post that they made. So I would schedule some time, maybe once a week for 1 hour to go through your hit list of your 20 people and comment on their LinkedIn. And that's just a reminder that you're there.
got it.
Um, so that I would hit them there. I'd also handwritten notes. People don't do them anymore. I would send a handwritten note. I would record a vertical video on the phone. If you have their cell phone, I would shoot a text or I wouldn't put it in their LinkedIn. I hate it. People send this to me. Voice memos, I am not a fan of. So do not send me a voice memo in LinkedIn. I won't listen to it. If I had the time to listen to a voice memo, I have the time for a phone call. So I wouldn't send a voice, but that's just my personal preference. Other people love them. But I would just make sure you vary your interaction and be consistent with them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Um, perfect. I think that was everything I wanted to ask. I will follow up
Cool.
on these. This is great. I'm gonna watch the recording of this. Haha.
Yeah.
And go
Oh,
ahead.
I just thought of something else.
Yes.
Your LinkedIn presence is so awesome.
Well,
You
thank you.
might want to consider once a week, since you already have this like great engaged audience, you might want to consider once a week posting some sort of article, not something that you wrote, but something that like HubSpot talks about or Salesforce talks about or a Stanford study about the power of training your employees on how to be more creative.
Mm,
And that, it might be something like, I read this great article. I've been thinking more and more about this. I utilize creativity in my training sessions. I'm curious, how do you use creativity in your training sessions? It just might be a link that you post that's an article to somebody else. Because then
uh-huh.
you're just giving people value and nuggets and making them smarter in the marketplace too.
Do you follow other speakers who speak on your topic on
I
LinkedIn?
I do. Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
do
A lot
you
of,
like
I
what
mean,
does that show you?
I comment. A lot of the speakers that speak on my same topics are my friends, like I
Right.
comment on them, the tent is big enough and it's very friendly competition and they might hire me once a year, but they're probably hire me for coaching. They'll hire me once a year for like 6 sessions, right?
Right.
But for speaking, they might hire me like every other year.
Yeah.
And I'd love to give a referral to them of somebody that does what I do that I know does a good job. So I love looking at people that do what I do
Okay.
online.
Great
Yeah.
info. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you all. First, thanks, Manny, for the free advice, whatever. It's
Heck
amazing
yes.
advice. Download the recording, rewatch it, watch it again. Make sure you like, subscribe, share our mini and our podcast with all your friends and peers. And we will see you again next week for another mini.
See you next week. Bye, everybody. Have
Bye
fun with
bye.
your selling.
Yes. Fun, fun, fun.